Hi, and welcome to the Business Link Podcast. I am Jason Ball, President and CEO of your Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, and I am so excited for today's discussion here in the AOI Podcast Studio right here in the Chamber's offices. One of the things that we really like to focus on here at the Chamber is building an ecosystem where people can start their business. And I always remind people it's people and families that are building their dream. Often is what they're really trying to accomplish. It's a super special thing. We focus those activities through the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development. You can find out more about them at selectlincoln.org. I am so excited for the conversation today with a friend of the Chamber, a friend of the Partnership for Economic Development, Christie Stukenholtz from Senior Care Finder. Christie, welcome to Business Link today.
Thank you. Thanks, Jason. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Now, Christie, Senior Care Finder is something that I hope people in town will recognize. I hope everyone in town knows about it soon. But you've been working on this startup for a while. Before we jump right into that story, just give people a quick version of what is Senior Care Finder? What does that do?
Yeah, great question. So oftentimes I like to start with the question, have you or someone you know gone through the experience of finding care for someone you love? And oftentimes the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. And if it's no, the answer that I often come back with is you probably will go through this experience at some point in your life.
It touches everybody sooner
yes.
or later.
And so I can talk later about how we came up with this idea, but the quickest and easiest way to describe what we do is think of Zillow, but for senior living and care. Mm-hmm. So we're an online marketplace of all senior living and care options, everything from bringing care into your home to independent living, assisted living, skilled care. You could go on our platform, search any city across the U.S. and find great quality results of who offers what in your area.
Yeah, and you can find that at seniorcarefinder.com. Let's talk a little bit about how you got there, because I think it's a business model that's wrapped around, I think, maybe some difficult conversations that families do have to cross sooner or later in most families. Like, how did you arrive at building a business wrapped around what can be a difficult conversation to have?
Yes. So my husband actually worked in the senior living industry for about a decade and would come home with lots of lively dinner conversations we'd have together about the issues he would face from a provider perspective. Yeah. And while I kind of understood them, I didn't really until my grandmother in Washington State needed care. And so my dad reached out to me and Heath and said, "Can you guys help?" And we thought, yeah, we can help. He's in the industry. I'm a savvy researcher. How hard can this be? Yeah. And it was hard, to say the least. I went to Google to try to figure out my options. That was complicated. Then you get out there, try and tour places, figure out how you're going to pay for it, start learning that there's actually wait lists. And it was an awful experience. And so on that plane ride home, I looked at my husband and I said, I get it. Yeah. And if we're not going to do something about this, then we got to quit talking about it. And so we decided to go ahead and do something about it.
That's such a unique and personal and moving human story for doing a startup. I think a lot of people end up doing their startups for different reasons. Obviously, some of them had a dream for a long time. You guys went through a difficult experience and realized, hey, there's a problem in this market.
Right. And it's one of those things that I never really would have realized it until I was in it. And when I talk to folks about what we're doing, typically their answer is, wait, that doesn't already exist, because we would expect it to. And so we're excited to be able to offer this, to the world across the nation, because when we all need it, it will exist and does exist and will be in a very intuitive way, a platform that we can use like we're used to using with Zillow or Hotels.com.
Yeah. So now you're up and running. You've got a product. You can provide this service as you've articulated it today. I'm curious if we can go back to that plane ride just for a second.
Yeah.
You and your husband are on the plane home. You're frustrated, exhausted. When was that? How long ago was that sort of genesis of this idea?
Yeah.
And then how did you get moving on building a business wrapped around it?
Yeah, the genesis of the idea was probably, I'm trying to remember when my grandmother was looking for care, probably in 2015, 2016.
Yeah, quite a while ago.
Quite a while ago. So like many startups, the idea is kind of in your hearts and minds for much longer than before you get them off the ground and up and running. But then in 2019, we kind of decided, let's do this. And the first place we went was to the Nebraska Department of Economic Development Prototype Grant, which was some funding that we were able to leverage to get kind of an MVP up and running so we could test it out and get it out into the world. And then the Launch L&K grant was also awesome for our business as what we call founder-friendly funding that really helped us leverage our community resources so we could get further faster.
Yeah. Christie mentioned the Launch L&K program. We're getting ready to head into another cycle of that. I'll just mention real quick for folks that haven't heard of it, Launch L&K is a program that is provided through the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development, and it is non-dilutive funding. It's basically a grant that businesses and entrepreneurs like you can apply for. We, up to this year, have been having cohorts of 5 businesses per year that can receive up to $25,000. Next year, we're doing 6 businesses that can compete for some funding, and we know we could have 6 more businesses. So we've got to grow the funding for that. But check that out if you're if you're having that plane home ride now with your spouse or your friend and saying, "Boy, there's a problem in this market." Check out Launch L&K. That might be another solution for you, as well as the prototype grant from DED. I think that's one of the things that you and Heath did an excellent job with, is really taking advantage of the resources that were available in that way. Tell me a little bit more about how you have connected with the other startup and entrepreneur community in Lincoln. You guys have done a lot of that.
Yeah, thank you. So initially that's hard, right? Because you're working on your business and in your business every single day. Yeah. But you need a community because it can be very lonely and it can be very scary. And you're facing problems and you kind of look around and think, okay, who can I talk to about this that's also going through something similar? So the Chamber has been awesome. Kathy Anderson has been wonderful to help introduce me to a community of entrepreneurs and startups here in Lincoln who are all doing amazing things, but also have great experience that they can share and insights that they can share, which has really helped us as we continue to grow and we want to be right here in Lincoln.
Yeah. So tell me about where Senior Care Finder is at now in terms of, I don't know if it's volume or number of users, however you track that, growth and status of where you are now in activity.
Yeah, so we have millions of users on our site. We have over 100,000 senior living and care providers nationwide. Yeah. So like I said, any city across the U.S., you should be able to go do a search. I would tell you to go do a search. Something unique about our platform is it's not gated. So when you get to our site, you don't have to enter in any of your contact information just to do your research and see your options, which is awesome. Yeah. So every day or every month, we see an increase in the number of connections that we're able to make for folks looking for care to folks providing care. And our team is growing as well. So everything's moving in the right direction, and we're moving fast and making a difference every day.
What's next for Senior Care Finder?
Yeah, so everything we do on our platform is through the eyes of the consumer. Yeah. So someone that is going through this oftentimes very scary, stressful experience, and maybe they haven't even gone through it ever in their life. So it's a complicated world. And so everything we do in our business, we want to contribute to bettering that experience. Yeah. And so we're trying to be an innovator and a first mover in the industry. Yeah. We want to continue to grow more service types across our platform, as well as other things that someone might need when they're going through this process. And so we're growing our team quickly, and just to the moon we go.
Awesome. Now, if people need to reach out to you or get a hold of you or a member of your team, what's the best way to do that other than looking at the website?
Yes, all social platforms, Senior Care Finder, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the places. Christie at seniorcarefinder.com if you have a question for me, but we should be pretty easy to find.
Awesome. Well, I hope everyone who sees this will go at least just check out the website. You guys have really done a wonderful build on that. That's a really well-built site to begin with. And I haven't had to deal with this yet personally, but when I get to that stage with one of my loved ones, I know exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Again, check them out at seniorcarefinder.com. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Business Link here at the AOI Podcast Studio. Again, you can find all of these episodes in our past history on our news tab at the website at lcoc.com. And again, for more information about Launch L&K and grant information, you can go to selectlincoln.org and find out more about what the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development is doing as well. Christie, thank you so much for a great conversation today.
Thank you so much.